talk about how do I apply my Bible. And so the first one, I have it labeled as number 0 because it's the bedrock, it's the foundation. I didn't even want to give it number 1 because it underlies all the other points. We need to have a spiritual heart. And so when I put together this lesson of these 5 points here, what I had in mind was the greatest commandment. To love God with all your heart, all your mind, and all your soul. So the heart, we can understand that as our desires. Those things that we want in life. We have to ask, do we want God in our life? When we think about our mind, we think about our decision-making process. We have to think about intentionality. To achieve something, to accomplish something, to work for something. We think about our will to apply. When we think about our soul, it's kind of the combination of those two. The soul is our entire being. Do you love God with everything you are? Okay? And so I preface with that because all 5 of these points is going to be something about our hearts that we need to change. Because we need to change our desires in order to get our minds focused right, in order to make our souls whole. But I just want you to understand that the mind and the soul plays a part in this as well. But when I talk about a spiritual heart, what I mean is that we have to have hearts that recognize that there's more to this life than physical things. Isaiah 59, verses 1 and 2, we read that our sins, our iniquities, they separate us from God. When we sin, we have put up a dividing wall between us and God. That's what our sins do. Thankfully, Christ came to break down that wall. But if we keep building it back up, He died on the cross once. And if we deny Him, and if we don't keep His words, He'll let you build that wall as high as you want. And that's where obedience comes in. But the point here is that we have to recognize that sins are done with our bodies. Right? Any sin that we can do, it's something that we do with our bodies. To include, maybe impure thoughts that we have, maybe impure desires that we have. But all of our sins come from our bodies. It comes from our flesh. It comes from the physical thing. But the consequence of sin is spiritual. We have to think as ourselves as more than just physical. We have to have spiritual desires. We have to have a heart that yearns for a positive relationship with God. Let me give you this analogy. So we know that the church, the Christian church, is defined as the bride of Christ. It's a beautiful parallel. That's a sermon for another day. But we can understand the church as the bride of Christ. And so I want us to think about a marriage here for a second. So if I start flirting with other women, what's that going to do to my relationship with my wife? It's going to hurt it. It's going to damage that relationship. Now, did I do anything to my wife directly? Did I physically harm her in any way? No. Did I damage that relationship with her? Yes. That's what sin does between us and God. It's something that we physically do that creates a barrier and it damages that relationship. And we need a heart that seeks to restore that relationship.